So, Neil Druckmann has left the building officially, and I just wanted to talk about that very quickly. So, Naughty Dog has just dropped this tweet saying that Neil Druckmann has officially left the Last of Us TV show. Says I made the difficult decision to step away from my creative involvement in The Last of Us on HBO, with work completed on season 2 and before any meaningful work starts on season 3. Now is the right time for me to transition my complete focus to Naughty Dog and its future projects, including writing and directing and our exciting new game, Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet, along with my responsibilities as studio head and head of creative. Co-creating the show has been a career highlight. It's been an honor to work alongside Craig Mazin to executive produce, direct and write on the last 2 seasons. I'm deeply thankful for the thoughtful approach and dedication the talented cast and crew took to adapting The Last of Us Part 1 and the continued adaptation of The Last of Us Part 2. So, of course, this comes to me as a bit of a surprise because Neil Druckmann has been very heavily involved in the production of first 2 seasons, although we did notice, him taking a bit of a dip in terms of where The Last of Us Season 2 went, beginning with the decision to separate that story into 2 seasons, which I think is a big mistake. And the Season 2, we saw Ellie's been taken in a different direction, which I think is mostly Craig Mazin's input, because obviously Neil Druckmann had any say in this. I think he would have made Ellie a little bit more violent, like she was in the actual game. So yeah, we saw like a lighthearted Ellie who was portrayed as a little bit more kind of all over the place, in ways that we didn't see her as in the game, which was very confusing. And then also mainly that direction that they've taken to separate Abby's and Ellie's story altogether, which I realize is how it was done in the actual game. You see Ellie's point of view. I mean, apart from that inevitable scene from with Abby and Joel, after that you see Ellie's perspective for a very long time, her trying to catch up to Abby, and then it switches perspective to Abby, and then you see her point of view, and then you see both Ellie and Abby's stories collide. It works for the game, but in adapting that story to the TV show, they separated that into 2 seasons. I think that's a big mistake because Ellie, we already have a main character's departure in season 2 with Joel's death. Sorry for spoilers. I mean, this should not be spoilers for you at this point. And then after Joel's death, you see, a lot of people, a lot of the casual viewers, I believe, would have been like checked off at this point, going, "Oh man, like Joel's dead. Joel's died. Like he's my favorite. Pedro Pascal's my favorite. I don't want to watch the TV show anymore." This happened to my wife as well. She was watching the show with me, and when of course I knew what was going to happen, but when she saw Joel's death, she just completely lost interest in the TV show all of a sudden. She's like, "Oh, no more Pedro Pascal, I don't want to watch it." And then I sort of persuaded her to keep watching because I knew the story's pretty good. I mean, how the TV show panned out, that's a different story altogether. But I would believe, even with the gamers, when the game came out, when Joel died, I stopped playing the game for a bit because it was a shock to me to see just Joel just killed off right away. So with that shocker right at the beginning of the season 2, you risk a lot of the viewers falling off of it without the absence of Pedro Pascal, even though he's in flashbacks quite a bit in season 2. I don't think he's going to be in season 3 at all. So you have Ellie and you have Abby. Ellie has not been likable in season 2, and then you have Abby's story taken off for pretty much the whole season 3. She's the main protagonist. Officially, they've said so. I believe that Neil Druckmann had a lot of creative differences with Craig Mason in that direction that they've taken, although it's not being made public. Purely speculating here. I don't know anything. I'm just purely speculating here. This is going to be good for Naughty Dog though, because Naughty Dog finally gets their, the people who's running the program back. With Neil Druckmann being the studio head and the head of creative, him being back on the project, the new project, which is the Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet. It is a good thing for Naughty Dog. It's always nice to have your boss back when you're working on something new, and especially something this new, because Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, I think is a very different experience to what we've seen from Naughty Dog before. I don't know if you've seen this. This is a very different game. It's got very different vibes to what they've been doing with Uncharted and The Last of Us. You got this chick from The Last of Us Season 2, and then this very sci-fi, cyberpunk heavy kind of thing with a Porsche spaceship. And then the most interesting thing is this very end. They show like a very small slice of what could be the gameplay, or at least transitioning into the gameplay bit, which is a completely different vibe. So it's not what we've seen or what we used to see from them. It's very, as Neil Druckmann has officially publicly said, very inspired by Elden Ring. That's the direction that he wants to be inspired by, things like games like Elden Ring. And when I say Elden Ring, I think he's referring to that player-driven open world experience rather than the narrative-driven experiences that they've been producing with The Last of Us and the Uncharted series, which is very interesting because they haven't dipped in this side of the gaming industry yet. So this will be their debut to that sort of game, and I'm keen to see how that would turn out. To be honest, I don't think it's going to be like hardcore as Elden Ring. I think it'll be inspired by Elden Ring, kind like Souls-like mechanics, but it won't be as hardcore, I don't think, because they want to appeal to the mass audience, mass gamers who are. I mean, not everybody enjoys Elden Ring, so I think it will be somewhere in between Elden Ring, maybe something very similar to the Jedi series, Jedi Survivor. It's very Souls-like, but it's just hard enough, but it's not too hard. That kind of level. I think that's where they're heading with that one. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that game turns out. And with his departure from the TV show, it's very telling as to where the game is also at as well. Not to mention the game, the TV show. People say a lot of shit about Neil Druckmann, but I think the TV show, especially with The Last of Us Season 2, the episode that he directed were pretty solid. They were pretty solid. I didn't find any issues with those. I think with his episode, he tried to stick very much to what the game provided us, and like stick to that the original material, which was great. I mean, they could have just continued that for the whole season, but they didn't. But anyway, what I'm saying is it's good that Naughty Dog is getting Neil Druckmann back. It's good for the project, and it's very telling as to where in the development process this game probably is. It's probably in the later stages now. So I'm assuming it's going to be, when I say later stage, I'm not meaning like 6 months away, but maybe like a year and a half, maybe 2 years even away. So they're cranking up the production for this game. They're polishing it up, and they need Neil Druckmann to be there as the head of creative of Naughty Dog. So it's a good thing for Naughty Dog, good thing for Neil Druckmann to be back there. Last of Us show, I'm not sure. I don't know where that's going to head in season 3. I quite like what's the actress's name? Uh, Kaylin Dever. Kaylin Dever, I like her as Abby, even though she's not, the muscly type that you saw from the game. I think she's done a brilliant job as Abby in the season, even though we didn't get to even see her as much in season 2. But I don't think people who tuned into first 2 seasons watching Ellie's and Joel's story just gonna appreciate this new protagonist in season 3 who's got nothing to do with them, pretty much. I mean, yes, their stories connect, but kind of nothing to do with them. And it's very telling, because season 2 finale I think had like significantly lower viewership compared to season finale of season 1. So how are you going to keep track, how are you going to maintain the engagement for season 3 when the rest of the story that's supposed to be continuing all together comes 3 years later? By the time it comes out, we're going to forget what happened in season 2. So yeah, I'm curious to see where this is heading. What do you think of this situation? If let me know, leave a comment below. If you enjoy this video, drop a like and sub to the channel would be much appreciated. Thank you so much for sticking with me. I'll catch you in the next one.